Hey, fourth grade, ready for your art lesson with your friendly neighborhood art teacher? We've started our endangered species drawings, and we've learned a little bit about the ESC, the Endangered Species Coalition, which is doing a contest called Saving Our Endangered Species Youth Art Contest, which I hope that we will be able to submit our artwork to. It is for grades K through 12 in the United States. Last week we talked a lot about texture and how to show texture. Just a reminder, actual texture is how something actually feels. Like if you found that cactus in the picture and you touched it, it would actually feel spiky. Implied texture is how something looks like it would feel. That drawing of the cactus looks like it would be spiky, but the actual drawing itself would not be. And then we talked about value. This is one of the ones that I noticed in our reviews that we've had a harder time with. Value is the light to darkness of a color. You can see many different variations of value on this slide. Then we took a look at what it kind of looks like when those things work together. We've got, remember, the dark value at the bottom is where the shadow is, and the light value up at the top is where the light is, where the shadow is, and this is where the light is. You can even see that over here. The window is directly where the light is coming in, and it gets a little bit darker on the other side. We looked at how these lines used dark still at the bottom and light at the top, which actually follows for all of those. Let's look at what some animal drawings with texture look like. So when you see this drawing, it is made up of nothing but lines. There is no color in this picture. This is someone who just worked with a pencil to create this drawing. Take a look closely at some of these lines. Are they all the same size? No, some lines are actually thicker than the others. In particular, if you look at this whisker, and then the ones near it or around it, this one is thicker. It's darker than the others. These other ones are thinner. They're a little bit skinnier. Are they all the same length? No, that's another thing. Look, we've got long whisker, short whisker, long whisker, short whisker. And if you look back here at his tail, ooh, some of these lines are really long and some of them are very short. Having that kind of variation really helps adding to texture. And are they all the same direction? Some of them follow similar directions, as in these are all kind of facing outwards, but they don't all just stick straight out. They've got a little bit of a curve to them. And just looking at this one, what kind of texture do you think this squirrel is? Right, it's a very fuzzy or fluffy kind of texture. I'll say fuzzy, but you know I mean also kind of soft and smooth and maybe a little fluffy. So let's take a look at this guy, the hedgehog. Now, what I liked about this one is that it actually shows two kinds of textures. You've got the spiky for the hedgehog, but we've also got the rough for the log that he's standing on. Once again, when you look in really closely, are all of these the same size? No, not at all. And if you look down here, you can see that some of these are thicker or fatter lines, and some of them are thin lines. Does anybody remember what kind of shading it is when you have these dots? That's right, it's called stippling. How about this, where the lines go up and down and then left to right? Do you remember what those are called? Yes, that's called cross hatching. And on the face, it's just simple hatching. It's just simple hatching. And these leaves, these little parts of the log, seem to be a little bit of scumbling with it. And then let's take a look at another kind of shading. So, another kind of texture. We've had fluffy or fuzzy kind of texture. We've had our spiky or rough kind of texture. And now we're going to go with a smooth kind of texture, because a snake has very smooth scales. Now, when we have drawn people in the past, we tend to not give people any separation, or not any kind of little breaks in our colors. And you can see that this guy, can you hear my dog in the background? All right, we're going to pause. Rebel, stop being a goober. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the snake and his smooth texture. When we see his scales, we don't see a lot of bumps along the edges. There's a little bit in some spots. And you can see, especially up here along the top, that this line's a little bumpy. But he keeps his very smooth texture by keeping the dark shadow at the back of a snake. If you've ever touched a snake, you know that you can run your finger down their body like this. But if you go this way and you go opposite, like you're going towards their head, their scales will actually catch on your finger. And it's not comfortable. That's part of their defense mechanism. So when you're drawing these scales, the light will be closest to the head, and the dark part of the scales will be at the back, away from the head. And this is a more detailed version of some really nice looking scales that I've seen someone do. And I want y'all to look at these. Just these down here, not these up here. I can't even do those. These down here, this is just circles. It's just a bunch of circles drawn together. Some of them are overlapping, but he's picked one area. All of the same spot on these circles have that same shadow underneath. This is similar. He doesn't have the light yet, and we'll talk about that one. I mean, I'll see if I can do that one and show you what I'm talking about for that. Now here's some more textures. Let's look at some of these textures. First of all, a hairy or a fluffy texture. You've got to find a spot on your whatever, whether it's a squirrel or if you're practicing a ball like this, that the hair will start from. You can find a spot on top of your head where your hair kind of starts from. And that's where you're going to start those lines, and they're going to come down, and they're going to go, and they're going to make these little lines that kind of come down towards that. Now, spiky is different. If you have spikes, it doesn't start from one spot on top of your head. It just kind of grows all over. Now, these two down here are actually just shading, so don't worry about those. But I wanted you to also see, again, the hair. All of the hair is coming from the same kind of direction. They all start in this upper corner, and they go back down. The rocks, all of the shadows are on the bottom sides of the rocks. And let's look at some more types of examples. Oh, some of these aren't actual textures, like this is just transparent, but that's still, it has a very smooth texture. Look at this guy up here. It looks like he's filled with liquid, or maybe it's made of a really shiny metal. Then we've got this guy who looks like he could be made out of tree barks. We've got something that's got a little bit of fuzz on it. Then we got something that's just plain hairy. I don't know, this guy looks like he's been rolled around in someone's pocket for a little while. This looks like a rock. I mean, just flat out looks like a rock. He's got this very jagged little line going down there. Then we've got our pretty clear bubble. I'm not really sure what this one is. Kind of looks like a coconut if you're starting to peel a coconut. There's a little bit of a short hairy one here. There's another rocky one. That looks like a ball of paper to me. And then this guy looks kind of small and fuzzy. So what you're going to be doing is very similar to what you did last time. But instead of 6 boxes, I'm going to ask you to draw 3 boxes. Once again, there will be a Google document on your assignment that will have this on it. So if you print it out, you can use that. But you have to put your picture back in your Google assignment. And these are the 3 that we're going to work on. So let me pull up my document camera. and I will work on this very quickly with you so you can get an idea of what I am talking about. So there we go. Turn on the light. We're going to do the 3 boxes. And so we've got fur, or if you want to do hairy. Then we'll have scales, and then smooth.